Ladies and gentlemen, 'tis the season for a season finale of Three Brothers Talking. Jeremy's laughing already. That must have been hilarious.
I just thought of something that I was talking to Jeff about the other day.
Oh, okay.
I had the intro for whenever Jeff gets on the podcast.
We need that horn buzzer.
A better producer, engineer, whatever than me might have had that ready.
We had a Patreon page.
You know what? It's
we could buy a real air horn.
It's the season finale.
We could have just done a real air horn.
I might have one downstairs somewhere. We can just blow that in the other room and it'll make its way on. We made 23 episodes, counting this episode.
Michael Jordan.
We made 23 episodes, the number of Jordan.
That was not on purpose, really, but
yeah, we did.
Michael Jordan. There's 45 also.
This whole that's next year's goal.
Oh, okay.
This whole podcast is really just a secret tribute to Michael Jordan, and but we did make 23 episodes this year. This is our season finale.
Done gambling. We don't know.
Oh, we definitely did. There are so many stories. There are so many stories about Michael Jordan's life that are just incredible.
Yeah.
If you
play with Looney Tunes.
There's stories about him. There's the same kind of stories about the Dallas Cowboys from the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Like Michael Irvin.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what the name of that book is, but there's a book about Deion Sanders and Michael Irvin and the Cowboys that will open your eyes.
You guys knew I met Michael Irvin, right?
What?
Yeah, I saw him. He was at a bar in Columbus, just random.
You went to
bars? Yeah.
Well, this
random tangent.
Yeah, random tangent. We didn't even get part of the intro in. It is
you
sort
can
of
cut that out if you want.
I probably will stay in.
Mm.
The Christmas season. Let's just be honest. The Christmas season is upon us.
Well,
we've got
do we have to introduce ourselves?
Oh yeah, I'm David.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Andrew.
There you go.
That's right. We have the Christmas season here. We've got the tree. I've got the tree up in the studio / living room of my house, and another smaller tree. I've got lights on the outside of my house. All of that happened this week, roughly 10 days before Christmas. But it happened.
Better than us.
Yeah, just about 10 days out. But we got there.
That's what happened.
I put up.
As long as
I
it's
ordered the
up.
last of my gifts today.
As long as it's up by the 25th. Oh yeah, I think I have to eat it. I think it's stocking stuff.
I have 3 more gifts to get. Rachel and I need to get 3 more.
Faith, I'm just going to give a thing out because Faith wrote on our thing. She did the majority, probably about 90% of our shopping.
Yeah, she did say, ask the host who did most of the shopping.
When I said I ordered the last of my gift, Kaylee executed the order, and I told her that she could go ahead and get that. Yeah.
So I'm just going to put it out there that Faith.
I appreciate your honesty.
You know, I did my best, but I started a new job this month, so it's been
literally this week. Wait, last
2
week?
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my first paycheck today.
There you go.
Weird. I'm official.
Air horn.
Air horn.
Insert air horn here.
But
seasonals are out.
This is Christmas, sort of the Christmas special. And it's not only the season. We got a nutcracker on the table. That's how you know it's Christmas in the studio.
Why
and
is it so Christmassy?
I don't know. It's
besides the Nutcracker ballet.
That's I think the only reason.
Okay. When did that start?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, but
when Nutcracker started.
Somebody let us know.
Yeah.
Who started the Nutcracker?
We had an interactive show.
Couldn't tell you.
It's been.
Soon we'll do a live show. Next season we'll do a live show.
We should do a live show. I'd be there.
Here's what's incredible
tickets.
Is that a year ago we were meeting, I think, at Jeremy's house for one of the first times we ever recorded.
You're at my kitchen table.
We were at your kitchen table, Studio 1.
Time flies.
The original.
The original. And we were there recording the first ever. Would you say you had less pets? Yeah, it's true. You have 3 more pets than when we started.
You have a farm, so.
It's true. So that's kind of crazy. We've been doing this for a year now. We've had the podcast up public for about 9 months because I think we put them out there in like March.
Yeah.
And this will be, we might slip a bonus episode in before the end of the year, but this is kind of the last official episode until probably like end of January, taking a little bit of a break because Christmas is coming up, so we're not going to even try to record during all that.
We're all trying to travel.
We're all traveling and busy and stuff, but we'll be back very soon. We've come full circle. Yeah, man.
And season 2, we have lots of
We have
stuff.
so much lined up.
Well,
By that,
year
we mean nothing planned.
Next year we got some cool stuff planned. At least I've got some cool stuff
Good
planned.
ideas.
Yeah, we're gonna hopefully do some live stuff, maybe in person / maybe live stuff online.
More guests.
We're gonna have more guests. We've already got some of those lined up. We've got some some more. There will be more writing and blogging next year on the website as well.
Yeah, I've been saving all mine for next year.
That's right. That's right. He has.
I'm gonna save all my ideas for 2019.
I'm gonna save them. I'm gonna save them all until like 2030, and then I'll just have tons.
I got them all on my floppy disk drive at home, and I'm just gonna put it on the computer.
So it's not just the season for Christmas cheer. It's also the season for business, gentlemen, because we have struck a business deal, sort of.
Yep.
With a
sort of.
It's not news to you.
Oh, okay. We know.
But so we don't have the stuff in hand yet. But we're going to talk about a little company called Musk Ox Clothing. They are a fantastic clothing company for men. They do basically outdoors clothes. They also do T-shirts and stuff like this. But we are we reached out to them, talked to them for a little bit, and they're kind of a little bit of a sponsor to the program here for a couple episodes, at least for this finale and maybe some in the beginning of next year. But they're fantastic. We don't have the clothes yet.
I'm excited.
I'm just going to say that, but we're all excited about it. So we can look forward to having them now. They've got rugged, outdoors, manly clothes that look really nice.
Check it out.
High quality
The flannel is 100% cotton, so you could wear it and if you're an electrician, and you'd be fine.
There we go. You can only wear it if you're an electrician.
Well, I mean, in general, it's 100% cotton.
It's not built for electricians.
No, I'm just saying it's 100% cotton.
Yeah, 100% cotton.
Good.
Yeah.
But they make really quality clothes. Stuff. Their website is gomuscox.com. Really cool clothes, specifically for men. Last minute gift advice for ladies, for their husbands or something. If you're like, I don't know what to get this guy.
Yeah, they got some good stuff.
Gomuscox.com. Probably have to get the rush shipping, but you can make it happen.
You can probably get it. Yeah, you can get it there.
You can get it there. Shout out to them. Thanks for being a helper of the podcast. And next year,
thanks for sending us some stuff.
Next year, if you've got a company or something or a podcast or whatever that you would want to partner with us a little bit, we've already got some people lined up for that. But we got spots open if you wanna be partners as well. So
we're moguls now.
We're moguls. We're famous now.
Man. What are you gonna do with all your fame?
I'm gonna wear some Musk Ox clothing.
I'm really excited.
That's my number one plan.
This clothes. I was talking to my Faith about that before.
That's part of my New Year's resolution.
There you go. It's gonna be
wear more Musk Ox.
Yeah.
We are gonna get into maybe something that's like a holiday tradition for us that we are calling Slapshot Regatta, and that is basically where we are either going to use. It's from a great movie. My wife tolerated the movie. Rachel tolerated the movie. Yeah, she
figured out it was funny.
Rachel laughed at a few parts of it. So for most comedies that I think are funny, a lot of times she doesn't think they're that funny. So if she laughs a couple times, I'm like, this is good. We did it. Yeah.
We've made it.
Yeah. But Slapshot Regatta is where we either ask the other hosts a question or we grab a question from listener submitted, and hopefully we have very little preconceived knowledge of the question, so we get kind of a gut response, a reaction to whatever the question
is. Like a slapshot.
I can tell you like
a slapshot, if you will.
I don't know any of these.
Andrew has no preparation.
Yeah.
It will all be off the cuff for me.
It might not seem so by the way the first few minutes of this podcast have gone, but I've done far more prep than I have for any other episode.
Well, I mean, that's one. It's similar to when we did in episode 3 or 4. We did something similar.
It's true.
A long time ago.
I've actually got a quick shout out to listener Jesse. Jesse Anderson gave us a question that I think is so good we're going to save it for an episode next year because he asked about a Christian cliche. And we're going to use it next year. The Christian cliche he asked about was being in the world but not of it.
Oh.
So that's actually we're going to put a pin in that for next year because we're going to do another Christian cliche episode because here's the thing. Christians have a lot of them. And that'll be like
collect them.
Every
like Pokemon.
Every podcast every person has their like well that they did, the evergreen that they just keep going to, and like that's gonna be ours, is just mocking Christian cliches. Because if there's anything about this podcast and my personality that line up perfectly, it's mocking Christian
It's a perfect
cliches.
format for that.
Yeah. So I have like I just have no tolerance for them. So we're saving that one for next year. That'll be one of the first big episodes of the year next year. We'll be talking about Christian cliches. So if you have any you hate, especially around Christmas time, there's a tons around Christmas time.
They get thrown out quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the first question submitted by another listener, faithful listener, Jared Rossiter, our guy.
J. Ross.
J. Ross.
Our guy.
Rossi, as we call him
Rossi.
affectionately. Jerry Rossi. And he said, what do you think of Christmas sermons? What should they be about? Should they be about the season? Should they point back to Christ? What do you think of Christmas sermons?
Or, I guess...
Or services.
I was like, is he getting at then just, like, basically taking a week off of a regular
What do you
service
think?
for, like, a special sermon?
And
You know, Jared,
just,
what do you think?
just take it out. Go.
Let's go. Slapshot.
Oh, man.
It's a slap shot.
Save that
I wasn't
shot.
ready to go first, but...
You started talking.
I think you started talking, so it's yours now.
You have to run with it.
My slap shot to this, that's so cheesy. We're not going to say that.
Well, yeah, we're not really.
Yeah. He says, do you prefer traditional / stereotypical Christmas sermons
Okay.
or an atypical sermon that points back to Christ? We definitely always prefer the ones that point back to Christ. And not just on Christmas, but every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the thing that I hate, like this is just going to be a pet peeve of mine about Christmas, is I felt like for a long time I would see all these churches that almost every week they would not mince words about like their full gospel, the real gospel. They wouldn't beat around the bush. They wouldn't do any of that stuff. And then whenever Christmas came around, they do like this user-friendly, seeker-sensitive sermon.
Because you have guests.
Because we got guests.
Families and...
We don't know if this is the first time they've been in church in months or
We
years.
don't know whose grandparents are here.
And I'm just sitting there like, okay, so you don't know when the last time they were in church?
Exactly.
You don't know when the last time they were in churches? What a perfect time to give them the full gospel.
Yeah.
Why would that be a reason?
And also,
Why would that be a reason to tone down the truth?
Right.
This might be, you're admitting this is the one chance you have
Similar on
to
Easter.
speak to this person.
Yeah.
Similar to Easter.
It's the same thing, yeah.
And I think it comes from just we believe in our ability more than we believe in the ability of God to bring somebody cold off the street, so to speak, to hear one sermon, and he can use that one sermon through the Holy Spirit to wake them up. Instead, we think we got to get them hooked on church. They come to church for a few months, and then they'll accept Christ.
yeah.
I just can't stand it.
And that's where I think a lot of it too, I mean, not to sound, I don't want to like berate the church, because a lot of churches' intent is not aligned.
Do
with
it.
this. But I'm saying, but that's where a lot of it can be kind of I think it's a mixed bag of motivation, in that you have a lot of visitors coming to your church during these holiday times, and every week leading up to it, you see churches out there obviously saying like, yes, we want you to invite your friends, invite your family.
Which you should do.
Yeah, what you should be doing. And then it's like the point where, okay, so we've got all these new faces potentially in the door. Then are we wanting to, at the same time, are we wanting to not, it's a bad motivation to I think to initially water down, to try to add to your numbers going forward and potentially keep them, which, obviously you want to do. I'm trying to like explain that fully, but
I don't mean to sound like, I'm not assuming that everybody who has a softer message around Christmas is like trying to pump up their numbers. What I had a problem with is specifically in ministries I was involved in, if it felt like we would back off a little bit, because we were admittedly not trying to build numbers. And so it's like, well then for Christmas, let's take the one shot we got. Let's put it right between the eyebrows and let's go for it. And that doesn't mean you have to go up there and preach like total hellfire and brimstone. But it does mean, like, if this is my one chance for the year that these people might hear a biblical sermon, I want to give them the fullest extent of what a biblical sermon is.
It can also go the other way too, where you see a lot of churches today that put a whole bunch of money and resources and everything and team into that Christmas production.
Oh yeah.
Because they know a lot more visitors are coming. Obviously, they have a lot more bodies, so it becomes so much more of a show
Yeah.
than what you would call a typical Sunday for that particular church.
Yeah.
Which could obviously your motivation could shift a little bit, and that's where you got to be careful, I think.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that,
Yeah.
and I never served at a church where it was really like you better put together. I was a music guy. They were never like you better put together a show.
Yeah, you definitely see those churches.
I will
there.
say, like, there was even intrinsic pressure that I felt in myself when Christmas came around.
Yeah.
Because guests are showing up, so you do want to be like on your game. And you just got to sit down and be like, man, my game isn't going to bring anybody closer to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to bring people to Christ around the holidays is a biblical service, a biblical sermon, and honestly, the hospitality of family members to their family members and friends who don't know Christ. That's what's going to bring people to Christ, not my ability to have a really entertaining Christmas service at church.
Would you say then, as far as not pulling any punches or anything from the message that you're trying to get across, would you expect, like, when you walk into a Christmas service, are you wanting to hear the Christmas story as far as
Take it away, Jeremy.
every year? Or?
Wow. Okay, so this is also.
That touches on another pet peeve of mine.
I think that what you should be doing is your normal. Like, okay, so our church goes through Advent, which is a normal thing throughout church history that everyone goes through. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing the church, like, because everyone knows, especially nowadays, not everyone knows the birth story of Christ. So that's not wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm also not a fan of breaking out of your traditional service just for the sake of breaking it out. If you tie it in, great, to that point.
Yeah.
But I don't like new services just for the sake of doing new services. But Christmas and Easter are their own thing. As long as you're bringing in this is why Christ came, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Anytime it is easy for Christmas sermons to turn into, one of my things with Advent that I don't care for is that the way that we do Advent every year at our church is we pick a theme every year for the Advent series. So it's a little bit different.
Which I've seen a few different churches do it different ways, but it's always pointing to the coming.
A lot of churches do the same themes every year, very standard: hope, love, joy, and peace are what people bring. And so the thing that I don't love about that is then you are preaching, each of those kind of end up being very similar sermons. Yeah. And then you preach the very similar sermons to one another for 4 weeks, and then you preach them every year. Right. What I don't like is that you preach the same. You pretty much end up preaching the same sermon for 4 weeks in a row. Yeah. Because hope, love, joy, peace, they kind of all end up being the same sermon. And then you also like, then every year you preach those same things. So I like that at our church, at least every year we have a different sort of focus for the whole series, so that it always focuses on what the incarnation means and what the return of Christ will mean. But it doesn't ever feel like these are the same exact sermons.
Right, you're not hearing the same thing every year. And that's what I've heard a few different people do it different ways. And it's like Substance is doing it slightly different. And everyone has their ways of leading up to the coming of Christ. Mm-hmm. And how it then points to his second coming and triumphal re-entry.
Yeah, exactly.
And his reigning now. And that's the point of Christmas. Yeah. God with us. And as long as you're preaching that, that's fine. But you should be doing that 100% throughout the year.
Yeah. So that's kind of the rub, is that we're all guys that would prefer a gospel-centered message every week. But that doesn't mean that every message is the same formula every week. Right. What gospel-centered preaching and teaching hopefully is, this is how I think about it, is that you preach messages that only make sense from a gospel point of view of the world. So I'm never going to preach something that is merely behavioral modification or anything that makes it sound like you earn favor with God. I'm never going to, if I'm preaching about application of a text, I'm going to remind people in a gospel view, you can apply this text because God, through the gospel, has given his spirit to you. And with that spirit comes the power to obey and the power to live faithfully.
And so, also push back against you.
Yeah, gospel-centered teaching is not merely finding loose connections in your text to Jesus.
To Jesus coming.
Gospel-centered teaching is preaching texts, every text in the Bible, in light of the full gospel reality that we have as New Testament Christians. So that's something that it's not to say, oh, don't preach the same sermon, because in some way every sermon is the same sermon. It ought to be. Every sermon is in some way the same sermon, that we have a sin problem as humans, and God has fixed that sin problem in Christ, and now we live in response to that. That's the bare bones of every sermon.
Well, that's what at Christmas.
But then every text drives what that looks like in a different way. And so with Christmas, we do need to be reminded of the Christmas story.
Right.
But we need to be reminded of that not in a, and this is where my pet peeve is with a lot of Christmas sermons, we don't need to be reminded of that in a shallow way or in a way that the world would talk about it. We need to be reminded about that in the explicit way that the Bible tells us it's important and it's vital and it's what we need to have.
Yeah.
Well, and especially like your point there about every sermon is gospel centered in that respect, then it really does free you up to not necessarily, like, then from a Christmas sermon perspective, the entirety of the word can and should be preached in that way. So it definitely does, it frees you up from those, nonchalant Christmas messages that, the token story rehearsal and all that, because you don't have to necessarily take weeks away from where you've been at in the Word with your congregation or so on.
Yeah, and I think one of the go ahead, Jim.
No, I was gonna say, and it keeps your congregation also connected. Whereas if you just, we're gonna regurgitate some information, not regurgitate, but like if the Sunday service, if we have the persuasion Sunday service is primarily for believers, then why would we then cater to not that for just chosen Sundays?
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
If you are a church that believes that the service is primarily for equipping the faithful, which I think is a principle that's pretty clearly laid out in Scripture, stick to that every week of the year,
regardless of Sunday.
And trust God to take care of that. But we're also, none of us are really guys that like any of the random Sundays, the shout out Sundays. Like, as a guy, I don't feel a need to hear a manhood, fatherhood sermon on Father's Day. I don't feel a need to. I'm not a veteran, but I don't feel a need to do a veterans shout out service.
Yeah. When you can,
that's fine to pray for veterans, pray for volunteers. But I just don't like. I don't like catering a whole service, a whole sermon, a whole Sunday, whatever, to a demographic. Yeah. It feels like a marketing push to me, and yeah.
Yep.
So there you go. There's a long.
Yeah, it's a longer. Do you want to hear a short slap shot?
Yeah, give us a slap shot.
That was a
short slap shot from Jeremy.
Short slap shot.
Well, it might be a quick.
Are we really going with this catchphrase here?
I don't know.
No, we can just say quick question.
Andrew or David, is there any book you've tried to read or wanted to read that you've not finished and you've tried multiple times to pick up?
That's good.
Ooh. What do you think?
Somebody talk.
For me, I'll go ahead and say mine since I know the answers. I thought about it.
I have to think about it.
For me, it was I have two, which I've tried to pick up at least 5 or 6 times each.
Dang.
Yeah, they're both long.
That's a lot of
kind of boring in the beginning.
They're both,
so the Iliad is one I've wanted to read because I love history and all that stuff. And
that's a tough one to pick up.
Yeah, just trying to pick up and get in the mood to read, especially right now with life. And also the Silmarillion by Tolkien.
J.D. Greer? What?
J.D. Greer, Tolkien.
Never
Jared
read any of this.
Wilson, Joe Thorne.
John Piper wrote that one, right?
Yeah, he did. Okay. But the Silmarillion, which is about the creation of the world of Lord of the Rings in Middle Earth.
Okay.
So those are two that I've tried to pick up multiple times. Still want to read, have not had success.
The Space Trilogy from C.S. Lewis.
You seem to do it.
I picked that up at a time in my life that I needed a lighter read than that, and I thought this will be light enough, and I did. It wasn't. Still wasn't. It was just I just need the dumbest. I ended up reading a series of books that are fun called started with Off to Be the Wizard, but
It's also
Yeah.
one on my list that I've tried to pick up multiple times and
Yeah.
just keep going back to chapter 1.
But Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis. I still think I should read that at some point.
You
I
would
think I'll
enjoy
enjoy it.
You would.
But yeah,
Okay.
I'm drawing a blank right now, honestly.
you never failed to finish a book.
Okay, what book
The
have you
problem
failed?
is-
I know you. I know you
struggle,
failed to
I
finish a
struggle
book.
to read in
Just say the
general,
Bible.
but like no, I make sure of that one. But like I struggle to read in
Andrew's
general.
like, never actually read the Bible. I try every morning. It doesn't work.
Keep
But
going
no,
to
like
Genesis
I
1.
try
Elizabeth
to.
Place.
Once I like give up on a book, then I'm not really like I
Just
it's
give
done,
up?
and I'm on to the next thing.
What's a book that you've given up on that you
Regret
think?
it a little bit, or wanted to finish, just didn't care enough.
I think the titles is the thing.
Genre.
Genre.
Have you
picked up a book and not read it before?
picked up a book and not read
Yes
it
or no
before?
answer.
That's the first whiff we've ever had on a Slapshot over
Yeah.
here.
Well, I mean, we only
That's
done
why
this
we
twice,
didn't.
so
That's why we didn't think of that.
our odds aren't really that great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe we should have thought
I'll
of this.
keep thinking and.
Nope, the
get
puck
back.
is passed.
No, the puck.
Slapshot Regatta.
This one went in the goal.
Yeah.
'Cause Andrew's
Well,
not-
no, not in the goal.
Oh, Andrew whiffed
we put it in the goal.
We put him in the
Yeah.
He
goal.
whiffed.
I didn't block
Oh,
it.
so it's
Yeah.
a save?
No,
No, it's not a save. It went
It's
in the
like
goal.
somebody passes you the puck
It's a
and
goal.
you slap shot it, you one time it. So you and I connected.
We made the
Andrew
connection.
whiffed on the puck and it's at
Andrew,
center ice.
we're on a new line change now.
Yes.
Hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
Go
We're the
Jackets.
Blue Jackets of last year. He's the Blue Jackets of this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
too soon.
with that, another lighthearted topic. What's your favorite? What's a really interesting sports moment to you this year, or like a sports moment you really have loved this year?
Can I say moment or just like?
Just
Can it be like a season?
it could be. It could, just answer the question.
All right, watching Lamar Jackson. watching Lamar Jackson.
I knew you were
play
gonna
really
say
well,
Lamar Jackson.
Because man, I was kind of bummed when he got drafted as late as he was, and even the shot he didn't get.
Yeah.
But I was really happy when Harbaugh stayed with him when Flacco got, because Harbaugh took some flack when Flacco could have
Yeah,
come
he's a
back.
Super Bowl winner.
And I'm sorry, I'm sick of everyone saying like, oh, he had a bad game in the playoffs. I'm like, they wouldn't have been in the playoffs if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson. They're playing a good defense. Anyway, I'm glad he's having a really good year. So that's from this year.
Jeremy is mainly glad about that because
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is single-handedly
Currently-
winning his fantasy.
Well, that is
We're
also
in the
true.
playoffs,
But
and I'm
everyone
playing
else had
it.
a chance to draft. I drafted him late. This year I had a different fantasy approach. I
Nobody
said,
thought
um,
he was gonna get 50
I was
points
wanting
a
to
week.
draft him. I was going to
said-
draft him the round that he picked him
I
right
literally
before
said
me.
this year, I'm not picking anyone based on just their stats. If I can't root for them, I'm not going to draft them.
There you go.
That was my fantasy.
That's my rule. I never pick a Giant.
Yeah.
I never pick a Philadelphia Eagle. I never pick a Redskin. Ever. Those are my rules. I rarely will pick a Brown.
Can't say that in this podcast.
I will pick the Steelers. I will almost never pick a Brown. My bad. I'll bleep that out.
Hashtag explicit.
Yeah. No, that's my rule. My
Alright, so there you go.
I think I have two.
okay.
So the first one is I'm a very big college basketball supporter.
I knew he was gonna say
Currently
this.
riding high.
He's gonna steal mine.
With our Ohio State Buckeye men's basketball team. 'Cause
Yeah.
they should be number one in the country as of the point of this recording.
It
Probably
just-
will be next week.
It just feels wrong to me to say that we should be number one.
They-
In basketball,
Yeah.
it does
Look out
feel
next
really
week.
weird.
They probably will be.
Don't worry, we'll be the
Uh,
football at the end of the year.
So that's going good. They're still
Lord
undefeated,
willing.
and they finally have some depth and all that. And then the other part is the sweet victory that the Steelers just had in the second game against the Browns.
Yeah.
Because I was in Cleveland with Kaylee's family for it, watching it with her brother and her dad. They're all avid Browns fans. And I just get the relief of yet another year where the Browns had all this potential. They're failing, and the Steelers will be going to the playoffs.
With
and the
just
Browns will not.
The Steelers with just a bare bones of a
With a
roster.
bare bones roster with no running back, no top end receiver, 4-string quarterback, and yet we're 8-5 and go to the playoffs, and the Browns are going to be done.
Yeah, I think I was gonna talk about the basketball, OSU basketball.
My bad.
It's all right.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. All of my teams are bad this year.
No football. Ohio State's
The
Ohio, yeah. The Destroyers being back.
I've been
Hey, the
pretty-
Destroyers have played a big role in our podcast.
They
For the life
I
of
haven't
it.
watched any.
Isn't the AFL gone again?
No, it's still around. I
think
saw
it's
something
gone
with the
again.
XFL the other day. I'm like, man,
That's my thing. The XFL being back. That's my moment of the year.
When's it starting up?
I think it starts after the Super Bowl.
offsets
It starts after the Super Bowl. But
Which is very smart.
It's gonna be
Don't try
interesting to see if
compete.
anybody watches that.
I would watch it. But I just like sports.
I would say that thing for me that's been interesting this year in sports is the difference that coaching makes with the Ohio State football team.
Yeah.
That they have such a similar roster, especially on defense, and they're just incredible this year, and they were very horrible last year. I mean, horrible for us, but I just like seeing this year. I started listening to a couple of podcasts that get more into coaching and like team building and stuff, and watching the things that Ohio State coaches have done this year, that their defense has become incredible. It's been incredible. It's been fun to watch.
Mark it down.
Yeah.
Ohio State football, Ohio State basketball, national championship.
That's right.
That'd be awesome.
There we go.
There you go.
Clean sweep.
Andrew, you have any questions?
Do you come up with a question
Another
yet?
question.
Do you got another one? Hit us, Jeremy.
All right, David, your favorite topic. What's your Enneagram number?
I don't.
No way. I was gonna ask about the
Were
Enneagram.
you?
Yeah, I was.
I honestly haven't done it. So
Just pick a number.
I was gonna
I'm
say,
guessing-
what do you think?
I'm
Here,
probably a 7.
No, that's not you.
I don't know what a 7
I'm not even gonna spend time.
I did read the book. But
So I was
one of
gonna
them.
I was gonna ask just simply, what do you think of the Enneagram? And I was expecting Andrew to just
No.
say, what is that?
They kind of look at that.
No, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I've never done it. And I don't care to do it because it's stupid.
So that's Andrew's thoughts. Andrew and I am. I'm not an anti-Enneagram guy. I do think the Enneagram has weird origins.
Yeah.
It has weird origins, and so I would say with almost anything that has weird origins, take it with a grain of salt, because it's not scripture. It comes from some weird philosophy about the 9 types and all that stuff. So I'm not saying that makes it demonic. You can do yoga. You can do yoga and not worship the Hindu gods. Okay,
Yeah,
like,
basically Merlin.
but just realize that it's coming from a place that's like not scripture,
Yeah,
not
and
infallible.
It's like everything
People
else.
use it as like gospel.
So-
and all this, and
Yeah.
So that's my thought about it. Is like I think
this
it.
David riled up. That's why I went with this question.
I'm actually not riled up
You seem
about it.
kind of well,
Okay,
you're not
maybe
right.
I get riled up about it.
Andrew's
Yeah.
way more. I thought Andrew would have
Andrew's
no
more
opinion.
antagonistic than
I thought
you
Andrew
are.
would have no opinion on it. Well, I think that's because Andrew's never done anything with it.
Yeah, I've never done it. I only see like just how rampant it has gone.
My friends that currently love the Enneagram are almost all the same friends that used to love Myers-Briggs.
Really? See,
Yeah.
now, I didn't know any of them that like Myers-Briggs before.
Almost all my.
Myers-Briggs.
Who
This is the
likes
one thing I did like.
Myers-Briggs?
Oh,
What? Oh, we know some people.
yeah, I know some
We
people.
know some people who wouldn't.
I know some people that made dating
Yeah,
decisions.
they
based
said
on
we won't date
Myers-Briggs,
these
man.
types. We know people like
What?
that. And I was like, okay, whatever.
You know what I called them? I
I've
called
had
them
to take
stupid.
it multiple times, like for with jobs and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But like
Well-
it didn't mean.
well, that was the
Are
one
anything.
you an
I thought
otter
was
or
good.
a golden retriever?
Yeah.
The disc thing.
I always went
That's
back
probably the
to.
most
We had a
useful.
discussion the other day with Faith's family dinner, and there was like, which Myers-Briggs were you? And I was like, well, I'm the one because there's a Marvel graphic that had Thor on it, and I'm like, that's the one
me.
I am.
Yeah, was it from BuzzFeed? Did
No.
BuzzFeed tell you had the same?
No, it was like a legit one because I found
Okay.
it. I mean, well, okay, as much as it's a legit.
Yeah.
can be.
So there is an interesting book called The Personality Brokers. I think that's what it's called, where it talks about the origin for the Myers-Briggs at least, and what you discover is that a lot of these personality tests have just either origins that are pseudo-philosophical, or they have origins that are a little like con manish. And so I don't think they're evil or anything like that. I think that they can be useful in terms of if you're somebody.
I don't think you should define yourself by it, but
I
it can
think
be
I think
useful
I
tool
think
in
there
some
are
cases.
people that say like they operate as if they are a 6 that happens to be named Steve or Jessica, rather than I am a Jessica who tends to act like a 6. I think that there's a big difference there.
Well, there is.
And I think that like the healthy people can look at it and say, like for me, like my type always comes back as an 8, which is a person that
Totally.
yeah, every time I
Every
say it
time
to
I see
somebody,
you, I'm like, you're it.
Yeah.
and I don't like it because the 8 is like this
The dominating one.
yeah, and I don't want to be that person. Like I don't want to. I used to be more of that person. I thought I was really
I feel
obnoxious. So I try not to be
dominated
that
right
person.
You're
And-
dominating this podcast.
I feel like you're dominating
So
us.
anyway, like I just think that I just don't define yourself by it. and just don't let it become the thing that you primarily talk about.
Well, and that's
because nobody likes the person that primarily talks about personality tests. I'm sorry, like it can be useful and good and everything, but just don't let it become. I think for some people it does become how they think of themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's even like any of those things. That's where you take the.
No, you're more than that. Like this might tell you some of. It's a tendency test. It's not an identity test.
No, and that's the one that I've read a few things, listened to a few things about it. Okay, trying to learn how to, interact.
It turned Jeremy Buddhist.
It turned me not small. I'm gonna shave my head and get one of those orange robes.
He's now gonna become a monk because the Enneagram told him to.
I needed to be my
Enneagram told me to.
It is a simple life.
Okay, so this is the way I tend toward.
Total
a few of the authors I heard actually said this is how the gospel can speak to this better. And that's a good tool, because actually I offered some kind of, hey, this is how the gospel speaks to these, more than I read about the Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
But even then, like you said, it's a tendency, you learn how to operate, and you realize you also have to come back to everyone has these tendencies, but they're still their own individual person.
You're still an individual, yeah.
So, and even then, this might be, might lean toward this way, but the gospel is still true to you and live that way.
Yeah. I think that there's like and I'm honestly, for 99% of people I know, that talk about the Enneagram, they're not the extreme annoying case.
I'm getting a tattoo.
There you go.
Of the 9. And just,
what was your number when?
I'm a 2.
2. Total 2.
I have no idea. I'm going to go 7.
I don't know. I'm not even going to get into typing in.
Don't even type it.
I think one of the most. Yeah, I don't have a.
When you just tell people what they are.
Here's the thing: is I tell people.
Can we collect comments for what people think I am?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Tell us what you think Andrew is on his Enneagram.
I'm going to refuse to answer, which would be a total 8 thing to do. Every time I tell people I'm an 8, or then I get into a conversation with them about like,
what's the scale go to?
It's 1 through 9.
9, because that's what Enneagram means. 9
gram.
9 gram.
Not unlike the pentagram.
Oh,
another demonic tool.
I actually did. The first time I saw it, I thought that. I'm like, wow, this
it does look a little bit like that.
It's very similar.
Just with 4 more points. Hence the,
You mean penta means 5?
Exactly.
Whoa,
we're doing math.
This is a math podcast.
But every time I say something about like not wanting to typecast people or typecast myself or doing that, everyone always says that's such an 8 thing to say. I'm
that's
like, well,
annoying.
now I'm in an unfalsifiable claim. Like I can't. All right, whatever. I guess so.
You're trapped.
Yeah, I'm trapped.
All right.
So I don't know. Like I don't really have that. I don't have that strong of feelings about it, other than whenever it takes over somebody and you're just like, calm down, man. You're not a number. You're a person. You're really.
I remember
like,
us getting in the car after that one week.
Jeremy and I.
I am so done with the Enneagram.
Jeremy and I had a weekend, and like I said, Jeremy went on to read a book about the Enneagram after this. So like he is even.
The conference.
We went to a conference and there's a lot of Enneagram talk. I love our church network. I love our church network. But there's plenty of Enneagram talk
we
there.
We had made jokes about us putting the Enneagram numbers of ourselves
on our badges.
And putting it on our badges.
So that we could like, whenever you meet people, it's like, I'm David, here's my number.
I'm Jeremy and I'm a 2.
So we both got in the car and we were both instantly like, let's not talk about the Enneagram for a few days.
I've had enough about that.
That's exactly what we both said.
Which is the same way that I respond after like a few days listening to the same kind of music. Or I had BB Bop 2 days in a row, which I love BB Bop, by the way. But then 2 days in a row I had it, and then like the 3rd day somebody offered to go to BB Bop, like on the 4th day, and I was like, nah, not gonna happen. We're done.
We're done with BB.
Need some variety. But it's funny you brought that up because I was gonna ask that question.
Well, I knew you were. That's why I wanted.
Because I knew you had been reading the book.
I did read. I didn't finish the book. I read it. That was very helpful.
Yeah.
I got to think through myself, even those I interact with, like because I could see tendencies toward people and say, okay, how can I speak the gospel into my life and rest more? Because that's something I'm good at. And tendencies that I say, oh, this is why you operate that way to some degree, in an unhealthy way.
I think it can be a helpful tool for people that are not. This sounds like an insult. I can't think of another way to say it. If you're not very self-aware, meaning you don't. There are some people that like struggle to.
Do you think people are self-aware, honestly?
Well, here's what I'm saying. Like, there are some people that don't have a great grasp of what they're actually feeling from a day-to-day.
Well, that's true.
And there are some people that don't have a great grasp of their shortcomings and their strengths. And so I think tests like that, there's the Strengths Finder, there's the Myers-Briggs, there's the Enneagram, there's the DISC personality thing. there's tests like that can be really helpful. That'll hopefully help you see, here's my faults and here's my strengths, and like, okay, so like if my fault personally would be that I can get overzealous and like dominate people and kind of try to make my thoughts run the roost or whatever. And so I would say God through his word taught me to correct that before the Enneagram came into my life.
Yeah.
But then whenever I like took an Enneagram test, it was also like, okay, I guess that is a predisposition of mine. I just hesitate to use the words personality when it comes to anything that could be moral. Andrew and I talk about this a lot because Andrew and I we all do, Jeremy included, we all don't like it when people say, that's like just how I am, or that's my personality, is like, I was really rude, but hey, that's my personality.
Sorry, I was a jerk.
It's
called sin.
Yeah, and so I think it can be really useful but I also think that just reading through the scripture a lot, being in community, praying a lot, ought to expose you to your faults too.
Well, and that's where you said, okay, you're still never going to trump the fact that you need to learn to interact with a person on how they are. Like, yeah, it might give you like some helpful cues and tips to get started, but like by no stretch of the imagination, I said, they say, my wife is this. Okay, this is how all these people operate.
Yes.
I can maybe learn how to encourage her better using these tools, or other people to start off, but I still need to learn her and other people to how to really help and love them best.
And I'm really not that negative about the Enneagram. Everybody's already deleted this episode. We talked about sports for a little bit, and then we talked about the Enneagram for like 10 minutes.
We have its hats on backwards now.
It's cool. It's a cool hat. 1689 hat, missional wear. Jeremy got it for me as a gift.
I do love it.
Jeremy and his wife did. We're going to have to roll into another episode of this because...
And you have to come with one question, though. Like one.
Andrew will come up with a question for next episode.
Yeah.
How about that?
All right.
Quick recommendations. I'm going to say Colony House is a band, and they're incredible. They have a new song out, just one song. If you're going to listen to one song, it's not Christmas, whatever. It's called Original Material. It's really good. It's just an incredible song. They also have a lot of other songs, but they're my favorite band, so
Are they really?
recommend it. I think so, yeah.
That's interesting.
Come Wind would be my favorite band, but they make music like every 6 years.
Yeah.
So
Still technically together?
no,
Oh, okay.
that's why they're not.
What
my
did the one
favorite
guy
band.
make a new band of? Because it's like Blue something.
The Blue Winter.
The Blue Winter.
Very good, but once again, nothing really came of that.
Yeah.
So
one band. One album, I think.
yeah,
Anyway.
Colony House. Colony House. The song is called Original Material. It's good stuff. So
I am going to say eat breakfast. It's good.
most important meal of the day.
That's true.
Maybe.
Faith and I made
I don't know.
breakfast
I don't know how
today.
you would
Maybe
quantify
breakfast.
that.
Before it was nice. We sat and ate breakfast before I went to work. It was
There you
nice.
go. That's nice.
Yeah, she did a great job.
I gotta
Again?
get the recommendation is check your brakes and tires. Your car's
Before the winter
They're
weather.
gonna, for some reason, they're
My
taking
car-
check your mailbox.
My car's going into the shop tomorrow. So.
We have to do that, everybody, because that's how we get a government check. Like to subsidize the podcast, we do a PSA.
Yep.
So
That was
the
your
more you
PSA.
know.
Glad you stayed for this
But
long.
it's gonna be
Exactly.
icy.
That's your treat
It's gonna be icy.
for staying to the end of the episode.
It's gonna be icy and snowy, so be careful.
Well, it depends.
Just
We've
work
got listeners
remotely.
around the world, man. You can't just
Yeah,
like
we got some
assume.
people maybe in Greenland.
All of our
around
listeners in
us.
Florida, they're bored to death. Right
Hawaii's
now.
like, dude, we don't have that.
California's
problem.
like, screw this guy.
And
talking about
everyone
it.
in England's like, we have public transit and bikes.
I was not very excited because that would be normally stuff that I would do myself and like get the stuff
Yeah,
and try to
life
take a day to
happens.
do it. But then it's like also I don't want to take an entire day to work on this, and it's cold outside, so it's just gonna go. And we're going to this family outing, so I'm like I can just drop the car off. And
It
be
is
fine.
amazing how much more I've stood there and said, you know what, I just don't have the time. Like, it used to be like, you don't have time, but now it's like, I really don't have time. I'm going to have to pay someone to do this.
Yeah.
The convenience, geez, like, yeah, it's worth that.
Yeah.
Like, it needs done. I don't have time.
Well, especially,
So
like-
like, I could do it, but I still kind of fiddle with it.
Especially like in this case, like I have to do brakes and tires and all that, and like
Guys, this is the most boring conversation we could ever put on the podcast.
it would take me an all.
I don't know,
day
you
thing.
might have a little more. Do you want us to try?
Just wait until next year.
2018, more boring.
Next year we're gonna talk about like the best way to mow your lawn or something like that.
Do you
Just
do
so-
diagonally or do you do straight lines?
I'm a straight line guy.
What do you?
Dag?
I
Who's got
mix
time
it
for
up.
diagonal?
I mix
No
it
one.
up.
That's why you do it. I actually mix it up. I usually do vertical one week, and I usually do circle.
Just circle. Go to the
Because
inside.
you
of it.
notice if you start going in the same pattern, you miss it. You miss
Well,
it.
and you start killing your grass. But that's one reason why I'm really going to a pool. Because man, cutting around that pool was awful.
That was this portion is sponsored by Scott's Lawn. Last minute recommendation again, gomuscox.com. Last minute gifts. Go and get some stuff.
Get some stuff.
And we're going to be enjoying the flannels and the sweatshirts and everything when they arrive in just a few short days. So gomuscox.com.
Keep us warm.
ThreeBrothersTalking.com. Merry Christmas.
Blistery winter.
Be ready for another episode, I guess, because we've apparently got a lot to say.
Yeah, a lot more than I thought we
Keep
had.
talking.
We'll keep talking. See you guys next time.